problem. We'll just hear the pitter patter of little feet upstairs.
It is what it is.
Good?
I think so. Hi everyone, welcome to Shelf Control. Today we thought we'd talk about the first game in the Stefan Feld City Collection. It's one that we kickstarted and got a while ago, and we've played a few of them, and we'll start talking. I guess there's 4 of them, so it'll be a 4-part series. So we'll start talking about number 1, which is Hamburg. Hamburg is one that is a reprint of one of his old games called Bruges. And the deluxe edition comes with a sleeve. You got nighttime or daytime, or the I don't know, fancy looking box. I don't know. But so in this game, we might as well start getting some stuff out because we're going to be talking about this. We have the game tray inserts that have dropped some things as we had it sitting on its edge. They also came with a little collector's coin that has a nice little insert there to hold it. Let me put these back where they should go. Maybe
We can do it later.
we'll figure out what's missing what. Something get under that.
Yep. Alright.
And get out the game board because we probably want to talk about that too.
Anything else in here you want? One of these, maybe?
So we'll pull them all out.
Alright, we'll just get everything? Okay. And the dog's barking.
It wouldn't be a shelf control video if the dogs weren't barking. So, so in Bruges and Hamburg, it's a game where you have a hand of cards and there's a number of different things that you can do with the cards. And a lot of them are based off of the color of the cards. The game comes with a base that you can put out to hold all the cards. So you have purple, orange, gray, pink, and brown. And then you have different things that you can do with those cards. And so on every turn, you're going to have 5 cards in your hand that you get to pick which colors you want. And then over 4 turns in that round, you're going to be playing one of the cards and doing the action for it. And depending on the die rolls or the color of the card that you use determines what you get to do with that card. And then you have 1 card left that you just carry over to the next turn. It's a very brief overview on how to play. There's lots of videos out there of people who are teaching how to play both Bruges or Hamburg. You can check those out. We won't go into how to play here, but we just wanted to talk about our experience with the game.
And we don't have Bruges. That's not one of the games in our collection. So I had never played it. Have you ever played it?
I never played it either.
So we came in not knowing not ever playing Bruges, but he knew about it and had done some research on it. So we had an idea of how to play this game, and of course reading through the instructions on the changes that were made to this version.
The fact that it's a reprint of Bruges was one of the appealing factors for getting the Kickstarter, was because I've heard good things about Bruges. Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., he likes Bruges, and so I tend to like some of the games that he likes. So that was appealing to me, and so we got Hamburg. I looked through the rules, watched some playthroughs on how to play, and we sat down and played it. We've only played it as a 2-player game, but we played it multiple times to try and get a feeling for it. With the modules that they added, and some without. So, initially, what was your thought when you saw the game?
When I saw the game, the board looked fairly simple. There wasn't a whole lot. I mean, just compared to some of the other games we've played, the board's not very busy. So that was the first thing I noticed. And then the first time we played it, we did how the instructions recommend playing the first game. So you basically just use the town square and then the cathedral. Is it the cathedral?
I think so. It's where the clerics go.
The clerics go, and then so that's
and then
pretty much, and then your
dice will go here.
So that's all we did the first couple times. Very simple, basic, not a lot going for it. I didn't like it. It was just a time filler. So there was no challenge. There was no enjoyment in the game. Also utilizing the black. What's it called?
The disasters?
The disasters, the black disasters, the random disasters there. I mean, I didn't like it. And so we played it a couple times and I said I wasn't interested. So we decided to throw in the boats, the harbor, and that's all we threw in.
And that's it. We did not do the stock market, or they have tiles that change how these work. So since we got the board up, this is a good time to talk about one thing that kind of bugs me with this board. Not just that it's visually not that appealing. You got this in the middle, which is just basically a track that you just move up 1 or 2 times a turn to get up to the top, kind of thing. But up here they have a spot. I'm gonna hide you for a minute. They have a spot where you can pile up the different colored meeples for the workers. You pile your money here, you pile the wall sections here, and you have the black random disasters here. A spot up here in the corner for a module that you can choose to play with. A spot down here for a module you can choose to play with. And the game trays tray does a really good job, if you don't stand it up on its edge, does a really good job of holding your workers, your wall pieces, and your activation tokens, and it holds it all right here. So there's no reason to take it out of here.
Mm-hmm. So it's just wasted
to pile up
space
on the board. And it'd be one thing if they made the game tray small enough that it could sit up at the top. But the way it is now, if you set the stuff here, then you're covering up the scoreboard here. So if you're not using this module, you're not piling stuff up here, and you're not using this module, just this little bit here is the board that you're using. And that's kind of frustrating to me, to be sitting with this big board on the table that you're only using maybe 1/3 of. And even this little bit over here is just where you have the dice sitting, so you can see it. It would have been so much nicer if the spot for the stock market was like a separate board, so if you weren't using it, it was gone. If you weren't using the ships, you could keep that in the box and have this board actually be smaller. So looking at how the stock market works, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I don't think I'd ever play with it. So every time I play this game, this top half of the board it's just going to be empty and not doing anything. And it's just going to be staring at me, be like, hey, this game's got a module that personally I think makes the game worse. So
It was disappointing, and I like Stefan Feld. I like a lot of his games, and so for this to have been such a killjoy, I mean, I just didn't, I didn't enjoy it. It was, and just talk about the quality of the board. So already, we're starting to see some wear.
yeah, I don't know if you can tell when it's folded up like this and move it a little bit closer, but here in the middle, just from the few times that we've folded and unfolded it, it's starting to wear, get a white crease in here, the color flaking off. I don't know if it's going to start tearing eventually, but I haven't seen a board game board do that this soon.
And with how expensive these games are, you definitely would not expect to see that off of 4 or 5 plays. So that was concerning and disappointing to find that. I like the individual player boards. I do like those.
They are double layered, which is nice. So you can slot things in when you get when a disaster is drawn, you slide it over.
I'm not unhappy with the artwork. It's very basic, but it's not unpleasing to me. So I don't have a problem with the artwork or the colors. I like that there's a lot of bright colors in it. It's just the game itself just leaves a lot to be desired. With other Stefan Feld games you play, there's lots going on. There's all kinds of different things that you need to focus a little bit on everything in order to get the highest score possible. In this game, just again, we're not using the stock market, and so if you're not doing that, then there's only a couple things you're doing. And 4 turns around does not give you the time you need to play off of cards, to get a good engine going. My brain has just shot. I can't think of any of my words. But you don't have a good time to find a good card combinations and play off of each other. So you're trying to just get money. It's not easy to get money. It's not easy to get the resources you need to get the cards out. And 4 turns around just isn't enough time to get everything done that you need to get done.
Yeah, since we're going into the gameplay a little bit, I felt like the cards kind of suggested that this is supposed to be a longer game than it is. It's only 8 rounds. I asked on the Board Game Geek for Bruges how long a Bruges game usually lasts, because they go by the stacks of cards, and when a stack of cards is gone, the game ends. And they said that it was about 8 or 9 rounds. So I don't know that this would be much different from the original Bruges. But when I would get my hand of 5 cards, I would see cards that could combo off each other and be like, okay, I can actually like have a little engine that does stuff. Like, oh, I can start generating workers and then spending those workers to do things. Except, okay, if I'm going to play these cards, I need X amount of money, and I can't play the cards out until I play a card face down as a building site. So a card has to go down before another card could be put face up on top of it. And so on that one round with the 5 cards, it's going to be very rare that you're going to actually play out two buildings in front of you. And so that means one of those 5 buildings is going to get put out in front of you. And then you hope in your next hand of 5 you got something that'll play off of that. And so many times I would be like, okay, I've got me a card here that works really well with this building I've already built. I'm going to get a combo, and then, oh, I get to carry 1 card over to the next round, so I'm going to carry this card over, and then that'll be a 3-card combo engine that'll do some really cool stuff. Oh, we've only got 2 rounds left in the game. I'm not going to get to
Right.
run that engine but once or twice
If you can get it out.
if I can get it out.
And then you've got your disasters that are almost about to trigger, so you've got to pay cards to take your disasters back. And if the wild card disaster comes out, you could be in trouble and lose all your money or lose all your workers. And so your cards are what you use to do everything. So anything you're doing in the game will cost a card. And that part's fine. It's just you're not getting 4 turns around is just not enough to get everything done that you need to get done. And so that was a little disappointing. And then you're looking at, okay, there was one card I had that was if the sum of all the dice equal this or greater, I get a point. And I think you got money if you had a similar card that gave you money. So he was racking up money. He got that card out early, and it took me 5 rounds to even get the opportunity to be able to put that card out. And by the time I was going to put it out, it wasn't worth it, and there were other cards that would have been a little bit more valuable for me to put out. So that was really hard to try to build up, 12 money for this particular card when there's other, then that's really all you're going to be doing. That's pretty much the only card that you're going to be able to put out during that game. I think that game, every building I was able to put out was a 0 cost, 0 point card. So I had a lot of buildings out, but none of them cost anything and none of them gave me any points. So it was just really disappointing that you don't have enough time to get done what you need, and you don't have the opportunity to get the resources you need to complete the actions.
For me, it kind of has the same problem as if you've seen our Wingspan review. Base Wingspan, the fun in Wingspan is playing out the bird cards and getting the combos and going down and triggering all their abilities when you take actions. And the base Wingspan was just slow getting those cards out. You're constantly getting food with your actions, and then you can put a bird out, and then you play some more food, and then you can get a bird out. And the expansions fixed that and got it faster. This game seems to have that so much more, where the fun is like, oh, I got this cool combo of cards. It's gonna take me a long time to get these cards out, and then maybe I'll have a round or two where I feel like I'm doing something, and I don't know, they like so much more than in the original base Wingspan. The fun of the game is gated behind all this work that you have to do. There'd be times where it's like, okay, I really want to put this card out this turn, but I need to use this card for the money because that dice is a 6, which means I need to put this card out as the building site, which means I need that color worker. I don't have that color worker. Now I have to discard that card to get those color workers, but then I don't have another card of that color to use as a site. And unfortunately, when you're choosing the colors of cards from here, you don't know what the die rules are.
Right.
And you don't look at each card as you're going and be like, pick up a brown card and be like, okay, I can use this as a site because I don't like this card, so let me get another brown card in case I need to get workers because I don't have any brown workers. So you kind of have to try and anticipate everything that's happening at the same time with no knowledge of what's coming up. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like the stock market tiles, because the stock market tiles, all of them will make something a little bit better. So like this one here, every time you build a building, when you start, it'll cost you 1 coin less, and then it'll move up to here and it'll be 2 coins less the next time somebody builds, and then this one will be 3. And that's kind of cool. I think it would be better if it was reversed, because I never want to be the one getting the -1, so somebody else can get the -2, and then somebody else can get the -3. But so it's like, okay, this is great. This kind of makes playing out cards easier, even though the order that these go kind of makes you not want to build them early. But then once you get here and somebody builds this building for -3 money, you then flip it over and it goes over here, and all of a sudden you're paying one more, two more, three more to put out buildings.
Well, then nobody's building any more buildings.
And so then you got that little bit of a boost where it's like, hey, I can play out cards, and all of a sudden it's like, no, we don't want you to play out cards anymore.
And it's hard enough to get money to play out the cards you do have, and then on top of that, you're going to have to pay even more to get those buildings out. So it's not, that part's not enjoyable, so we don't play with that. And in looking at the points tabs, it goes up to, the point trigger goes over to 200, the point markers. How in the world are you getting 200 points in this game? We have not figured that out.
We haven't crossed 100 yet. And I was looking on the Bruges forums. I haven't seen anything people have said about Hamburg, but you know, somebody was like, you know, my best game was 109 in Bruges. So, and I don't know. I guess they're just like, you know, if you're going to print 100 on one side, you might as well put 200 on the other side.
And that's fine, but we can't even break 100 to get there.
One thing that they added in Hamburg from Bruges is the black die. And so whenever a dice comes up with a 5 or a 6, it triggers a disaster of that color. And if you ever collect 3 of a particular color, then that disaster triggers, and you either have to get rid of a building site, get rid of all your workers, get rid of all your money, get rid of one of your buildings, or wall fall down. And so one thing of your wall will fall down. And so in order to reduce your disaster level, you have to discard a card of that color. So if you got 2 gray already, a 3rd gray will trigger wall fall down. And you don't want that to happen. So as one of your 4 actions, you're just discarding a card.
A gray card.
A gray card to move that over and protect you from wall fall down. But with the black die that they've added, if it comes up 5 or 6, there's a stack of things here that will be shuffled and sitting on the board, and everybody draws one, and it has a different color disaster on it. So here's a pink, there's another pink, there's an orange. And so I think it's neat that means that everybody's disasters on their board
will be different.
Can be a little bit different. Like, it's like, you know, okay, we're all suffering for the wall, but all of a sudden, you know, I got a purple that you didn't, and so now I'm worried about that. So we kind of worry about different disasters at different times a little bit. But part of the game is mitigating the risk with the disasters. It's like, okay, I have gray at 1. I can ignore gray a little bit. And then if the gray die comes out 5 or 6, it goes to 2. And then I have a decision to make. Do I spend this gray card, or do I draw more gray cards so I can actually get my disaster down on gray to protect my walls? And that gives you a little bit of strategic thinking of, okay, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna risk it? Am I gonna to try and do that? And the black die can totally ruin your planning, because if you have just one of the 3 on gray, and your gray die comes out 5 or 6, and the black die comes out 5 or 6, and you flip over the gray thing, then all of a sudden, where you weren't in danger of your wall falling down, all of a sudden your wall falls down, and there's really no planning for that other than just being like, okay, if I have one on any of these, I need to bear in mind I could have any of these trigger. It was if there were more spaces for this, where instead of just if you got one, the other two can trigger immediately. You know, if it was four, if you had the first one, you'd be okay even if two triggered, and then you'd be like, okay, I have to deal with that next turn. And but with it at three, it just that luck factor of, you know, oh well, too bad you lost all your money, or oh too bad you lost all your workers, and it was just bad luck. There was really no planning that you could have done other than just spending all your cards to make sure that all your disasters are at zero before the next turn starts. But you're not going to win that way,
right?
And so, you know, we played a game of this where hardly, I think only once did the black die come up 5 or 6, and that was the best game that we played, where I was actually, okay, this isn't that bad. I would almost suggest not playing with the black disasters, and if black comes up 5 or 6, just ignoring it and just using it for the clerics to keep track of the rounds for you. Excuse me. Another critique is you've got the purple and the brown, and in
right now they look identical from this angle.
In the right light, yeah, it's really hard to tell the brown and the purple workers apart. And I'm not colorblind, so I don't know how this would work for that. They tried to do some things to help with color blindness, where each color has a symbol. Like brown is the triangle, and gray is a square, and on your player boards it has a picture of the brown guy with a triangle and the gray guy with a square, and they have the symbols here as well to try and help with the color blindness, which is good. But then when you're rolling the dice, I think it would have been kind of costly. I don't know how they could have done it, but maybe if the little pips on the brown were the triangle, because there's a spot on the board where you can put them all out. The brown has a little triangle next to it to show this die is brown. But when you're rolling them out on the board, they don't automatically fall into those spots. So you've got to then sort them out. And I guess if you have trouble telling them apart, you got to play with somebody who can tell the dice colors apart. I think since this was supposed to be a deluxe version, it would have been nice to have dice that would help with the colorblind people.
You didn't like how loose these were.
Yeah, since this seems to be a pile on Hamburg, the insert has a spot here for the little statue pieces, which in the non-deluxe game would be a cardboard insert, kind of like this, with a little plastic base to sit, and it'd just be cardboard. And they've got these
clear
acrylic
plastic,
which are clear, see-through, and have those. But it seems like the game tray was made for the round plastic base, and not these octagonal. I don't know how many sides they got. I'm not going to count them, but they don't sit in snug. They're not rounded, so they don't sit in there well. They don't sit flat. It's kind of ugly. Like you'd seen before, if it stands up on the side, these things all move. One of my acrylic ships has some of the paint that got scraped off. I didn't notice it until the last play that we had. I don't know if it was because I had it stored up on its side and they slid against each other and it peeled the paint off. There's just, I don't know. This wasn't the first game that we played.
Of the city, yeah.
This one so far has been the biggest disappointment, and I feel bad because I don't know, so many people like Bruges so much. It's like, am I missing something? Or is it just not the game for me? That I think the game that I enjoyed the most was when I totally ignored all the buildings that had abilities on them and just was like, okay, this one's just got points on it. I'll play a park or a zoo that I just put out for points. It doesn't use, I don't have to put a building down, or buildings that had end game and just, that's just like, I'll just put those out. And I think I built one building that had an ability, and I just played that one out because I had the money to do it, and one of my end games gave me 2 bonus points for that type of building, so I just put it out there. Or it might have been because you get 4 bonus points if at any time in the game you are the leader in a certain category, and one of them is buildings, and me and Lisa were tied in buildings, and it's like, okay, I can pay 3 money to just drop this building out and then get those 4 points. I don't care what the building is at that point.
I don't even know in all the games we played if I enjoyed any of them. So it just, when the game's over, when the last round, you're still thinking, finally, I have enough money that I can play this card. And then you realize, oh, we're in the last round. I can't play that card because I don't have the site built to be able to play it. And so every time the game was over, I was just kind of left with a kind of feeling like there was nothing enjoyable about that. I enjoy playing games with Norm, and we'll do that all the time, but the game itself just did not bring any enjoyment for me.
So much of this, like every round of this game was just, here's 5 cards. All of them look awesome and play well off of each other. But you're gonna have to, you might be able to play one of them out. The other 3 you're gonna be throwing away for money or workers or as a site. So it's like, pick your favorite baby out of these 5 cards and throw away the other ones, just so you could play that one. And then next turn you're given the same thing. Hey, look at all these awesome cards. You're not gonna get to play them all. Yeah. It sucks to be you. And that just wasn't fun. So many of the actions that you took just to be able to play a card, playing out a site, using a worker. If you don't have a worker, discarding a card to get just 3 workers, and that's an increase in workers. In Bruges, you would discard a card to get 2 workers, and here you discard a card to get 3. I think maybe to reduce the number of times that you have to discard a card to get workers. But even getting 3 workers, it never felt fun. It never felt like a powerful action, like, ooh, I'm getting 3 workers.
Because most times you don't even get to use all those workers.
And you don't get any points for that. So even if you got cards that it's like, okay, I can turn workers into more workers and I can get a whole bunch of workers, the only things that you can use workers for is to put out a site, or if you're playing with the ships, you get rid of one worker when you're doing the ships. And at the end of the game, the workers aren't, like, your workers that are sitting on your board aren't worth any points. And so it's like, okay, well, what's the point of that? And I don't know, there's just so many things where it's just like, I'm taking a turn that doesn't feel good. I'm taking a turn that doesn't feel good. I'm taking a turn that doesn't feel good. I'm playing a card that I think is going to be awesome and combo well with this other card. And then my next turn is like, okay, now I'm going to do something not fun, and then put that card out, and then get to trigger it with that other card. And
at that point, you're 3 rounds in.
And yeah, the game's over, and it's like, how well did that engine work for me? And so,
yeah, I was disappointed. I was really looking forward to the Stefan Feld City Collection, the first 4 when they came in, and we decided to play. We didn't play this one first.
No, we played Marrakesh first, because that's his brand new game, and we'll be talking about that 3 videos from now. And we did Amsterdam, because we do have Macau, and Amsterdam is reprinted Macau, and so we played that because we were more familiar with that, and to see how the rules changed and stuff. And we haven't gotten New York City to the table yet, but we still have another video to do after this before we get to that one, so we'll get some plays in and be able to talk about that. So this was the 3rd of the 4 in order that we played, and if you don't like bad reviews, at least know that this has been the disappointment of the 3 that we've played. So
hopefully New York won't top this one, and this will be the only bad one we have. But
so, what are your thoughts on the game as a rating?
So to go back to Norm's previous video of how he's going to start rating games, ranking games, I've watched that, and I was like, okay, I can agree with that. So the first 3 are on playability, right? So how...
No, the first 7 is game mechanics.
Game mechanics. Okay. On that, I don't even know, because with the mechanics that are there, they work fine. I wouldn't do the black die mechanic piece of it. We're not doing the stock market. So the mechanics that are in the game, we're not even choosing to use because we don't like them. So in that regard, I would say that's maybe a 3.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
I would give the game mechanics a 6 out of the 7.
Really?
Well, just because I understand what he's trying to do with these different actions. The fact that it's not fun for me to take those actions is not... I'm not going to take away from the game mechanics. I like the being able to choose which color cards to put in your hand. If I want 5 gray cards in my hand, I can grab 5 gray cards. Or if I don't want any brown, I can get a mixture of the other colors and not take any brown. And I like that. I like the if at any point during the game you're leading in one of these categories, you get to flip it over, and it's never lost. And so there's like that, the little bit of incentive is like, oh, if I just build 2 more wall sections, then I can get that bonus 4 points.
Do you know that's that mechanic and the ships are really the only 2 things that I liked, because I don't have there's not the ability to get enough resources to do anything else.
So I'm doing the -1 to give it the 6 out of 7 for gameplay, just because of the randomness of the black die that can totally trigger a disaster way before you expected it. And also the fact that the game board has just so much empty, dead space if you have the game tray. If you're not using the modules, the board itself is just 2/3 empty space, and it's just annoying to see that. So then you've got the 0 to 3 to add for fun factor, X factor, play it again.
I'm going 0. I'll never suggest bringing it to the table. If anyone suggests, can we play that? I'm always going to suggest a different game. I'm going to talk them out of it every time if I can. If that's the only option of playing a game with everyone, then I'm going to sit and play it, but I will not enjoy it. So I'll enjoy the company. I won't enjoy the game.
So that's given a grand total of
3.
Grand total of 3.
And I like Stefan Feld games, so for it to be a 3 is this game was just such a disappointment to me.
Yeah, it's such a surprising seeing how much other people like it. And if there are people out there that do like this, that are like, hey, you need to give it another shot, and you want to invite me to play it, I will give it a try. But as it stands with Hamburg, it's a 0 out of 3 for play. I would if somebody was like, hey, you want to play Hamburg, I'd be like,
no.
Wow. How about one of the others, or one of the other Stefan Felds? There's other great Stefan Felds out there. I would this game. I'm just disappointed with every turn I'm taking with this game, and so taking the 6 from before plus a 0, this game's a 6 out of 10 for me.
I would love to try Bruges.
Yeah.
If we could get our hands on a copy of that, I'd love to try it in its original gameplay to see what's so different, because a lot of people that like the game, I respect their opinions of. So like Norm said, what am I missing? What am I not getting in this that I'm disappointed in it?
Yeah, so I don't know what I said when I was like, if somebody wants to invite me to play. I meant Bruges. If you have an old copy of Bruges and you're like, hey, yeah, Hamburg's not good, but Bruges is great, I would be willing to sit down and give Bruges a try.
Yeah.
But it genuinely feels like, unless the cards are vastly different, or something, is still, to me, it seems like I would just be beating my head against that wall if I want to play all these cards and I can't. And even if I do get an engine running, it's running for one turn. So, where's the fun?
Which brings us to the question, does it stay on the shelf?
That's a trickier one.
I say no, because again, the whole purpose of this channel is to play the games. We've got so many board games. Play them. The ones we don't like, the ones that are scored as low as they are, shouldn't stay on the shelf. Find somebody who will enjoy it. Let them get what they want out of the game. We'll make room for games that we enjoy. So I say no.
And I agree. I agree with that. The only thing that could possibly get in the way is that this is City Collection number 1. And this
coming from the person who has to go in chronological order and everything has to look right and match up, I'm still saying no. And then you've got that factor of, we got all 4 of these games in the Kickstarter, and it was one of the more expensive purchases we've made as far as board games, and now we're possibly chucking one out of it. And, I think individually they run about $100.
Yeah, it was about $400 for the 4. And so that's $100 a game.
Yeah. So the fact that we've played this a couple times and are so disappointed, I mean, that hurts. It hurts my feelings to know this one was $100 and we've played it a few times and ready to get rid of it. So that's another factor. But I mean, I guess when you're a board game collector, that's the price you pay for ones you don't like and ready to get rid of to bring others in.
Yeah. So I think it's probably not going to stay in our collection. as we go through the others, we'll see if any of the others will join it, and that might make it a little bit easier to swallow the fact that we might have like 3 and 4 or 2 and 4 and not, instead of just having like 2, 3, 4 and be like, well, where's number 1? And it's like, you don't want us to tell you about number 1. So
it started with 2. It just started with number 2. We just skipped 1.
So yeah, we'll be looking into how to get this game to somebody else that might enjoy it and wants to give it a try, and we'll move on to Amsterdam next, and we'll talk about that when we get the next video up. So anyways, this
if
was
we're missing something, tell us, please.
Yeah, it's not exactly fun to do a negative video, but we also want to be honest, and as you learn our tastes and what we like and don't like, you'll be able to use that to help you make decisions with games as well. So I know that a lot of reviewers out there, they don't like to do negative reviews, and since we're going to be playing through all the games in our collection and deciding whether they stay or go, there's going to be more negative reviews as they go, because in my past I did pick up a number of stinkers. So that'll be fun. If you enjoy negative reviews, then stay tuned, because there'll be more of those in the future. I would like to say that just because we don't like this game doesn't mean that it's not somebody else's favorite. There's billions of people in the world and billions of tastes, and just because we don't like something doesn't mean that it's not somebody else's favorite.
Yep.
So don't take this as it's a terrible game, you shouldn't get it. Hopefully we explained why it was a disappointment to us, and you can use that information to help you make your decisions.
Yep, it's just not a good game for us.
So anyways, stay tuned for Stefan Feld City Collection number 2. Next stop is Amsterdam.
So we'll see you next time.
Great. Have a good one.
Bye.
No, I don't